Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any school yet, Josh?
You're a zero.
Yes, things are not losing yet.
They're not winning yet, you mean, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're live.
It's Thursday, October 12, 2023. This is the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. I'm Yoko Piley, and I will facilitate the meeting along with my co-chair, Mr. Ed Tate. He will facilitate the facilities part, and I will facilitate the finance part. So, could you please state your name, your title, starting to my left?
Ed Tate, School Board.
Mary McHugh, School Board.
Bobby, School Board.
Joe Hidalgo, School Board.
Mike Furlong, School Board.
Ed Salem, School Board.
Matt Frederickson, Director of IT.
Andrea Vangel, Director of District Communications.
Tony Raff, Director of Business Administration.
Andy Sanko, Superintendent.
Jessica Bennett, Supervisor of Facilities.
Michael Roosevelt, School Board.
Steve on the School Board.
All right, great. So we'll start with facilities.
Thank you, Ms. Pelly. We'll get started. We've got a fairly full agenda, but if we confine questions until after each segment, that'll help. Ms. Bennett, if you would start us off, please.
Thank you, guys. This is the wrong one.
Finance.
Sorry.
That would look better. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, tonight we're going to go over the post-2024 capital improvement plan summer projects, review the closeout of some of the 2023 capital improvement projects, closing out two of the contracts for Hillcrest, the general contractor, and the electrical contractor, and then Richboro Elementary rock removal change order, Richboro district-wide security upgrade change order, and then we're also going to briefly go over the, what do you call it? Sorry, the approval of the Airmark Energy Data Monthly Reporting and Dashboard Services. Tonight we have Colin Case and Doug Taylor from Dewey. So I'm going to hand it over to him to go over this.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. I will go through this quickly. I know you're all very familiar with the capital improvement plan. I don't think there's any new faces that haven't seen this before, but I'll go pretty quick. Again, the book has been prepared, and in fact, I gave just thumb drives tonight before the meeting, so it's in a searchable PDF format on a thumb drive, so that'll be distributed to the team, and a couple hard copies are coming the way as well. So the contents of that thumb drive are basically shown here. There's going to be the logic matrix, which every item that we've identified when we've done our planning is run through for a score. Again, safety and educational impact are the most heavily weighted items when we run through these items, and then there's other factors as well that we score these on. And then the priority indexing is off to the right, and that's also in the book. We then have tabs 3 through 23, a summary of each of the schools with some of the photos, representative photos of what the conditions are that we've observed, some of the things that need to be considered for repairs or maintenance. In this case, this is Counter Rock High School South, and you can see there's metal panels are starting to tire, some of the translucent panels, and some other elements are also tired. But that's just one example of one building. And then we have a priority by school and a priority by priority in the book as well. And you see those items. We include the matrix code at each item so you can see how they score, what the priority is, what the estimated construction cost is, and a category for searching needs for sorting needs. And then we get to tab 26, the facilities, where we actually show all of the different schools that we've done our study for, a little history of what the project is, what it would cost if we were to renovate the entire facility to get an idea of what that cost would be, the replacement cost of the project, and then the blue column, which is the capital improvements plus 30% fees and contingency. That allows us to then take a look at what it would cost for the capital projects as a percentage of total renovations and apply a percentage to it, which is the second column from the right. And if that percentage reaches 60 or 70%, we start to talk more about total renovations or replacement and not so much performing capital projects. So that's a good index to start planning the project. And in this case, we know former Richboro Middle School is a swing school, and it's intended for that, so we're really not paying too much attention to a future project there as far as a functional school. And this is the rest of the facilities, and as you can see on here, Welch and Newtown Health are kind of the last two buildings that haven't been touched as part of the projects, and we have two in the works, Richboro L and Solon Elementary School. We have tab 28, which is a roof summary, basically runs through all of the schools, the roof systems, gives you the roof plan, it keys in the roof areas by area, what roofing may have been replaced, what areas have been replaced, the age, the warranty, and it's a good way to track all the different roof projects that are coming up in the district. And tab 29 is basically the summary of completed projects. So this is a summary for each year of work that was completed, who did the work, their contact info, a good way to track those projects, where they may have come in from a pricing standpoint, a good way to keep the history of what costs were as we work through projects over the years. And this is in the book for each year for the last about 10 or 11 years. Tab 30 are miscellaneous building information sections. I'm not going to go through all the sections other than to say those are all the sections that live in the book, and we keep track of those different major building components in the book, and the history of each one of those. And so as we renovate a project, we take out the old boilers, we went out a chiller we've air conditioned the building, we put the new boilers in, and emergency generation and whatnot. And then really the key, the 5-year plan. So we're looking to talk about what the proposed projects are for the next 5 years. Jess and I collaborated and worked closely together to develop the 5-year plan for next summer and moving forward. So what I'll do is just go over probably just what's planned for next summer 24 and one project perhaps for the summer 25. And we don't really have to focus on the last 3 years because, again, this is a dynamic plan. It will change each year, and it will be updated and reviewed again next year in a similar format. So the projects that we've talked about for this summer, and just feel free to, the summer 24, feel free to chime in. The auditorium at North does not have its own boiler or heating system, so the entire building boilers have to run to maintain the systems at the swimming pool at North. So this would allow the district to shut the boilers down in the summer and just manage the natatorium, isolate the natatorium. So save some money by not operating their systems and be able to isolate the swimming pool. The south reorientation, possibly drainage issues at the softball field. There's been ongoing issues with that field. Now we are doing work with the tennis courts, where we've added some pretty serious under drainage to intercept the water coming down off the hill, which was really what was the cause of the compromise of those tennis courts. They were just taking in so much water, the courts were failing. So we put a lot of under drainage in, tied it into the existing stormwater, and we think maybe that might intercept a lot of the water that was coming down beneath them and entering the softball field. So we can continue to kind of bird dog that, see what's happening, and maybe this project is something less than that, but we'll make sure that we're being smart about how that project moves forward. The all-weather track itself is definitely in need of replacement. That is that all-weather surface is actually delaminating from the asphalt below. needs to be addressed. Another thing we've looked at is the floor replacement allowance for the libraries at the two high schools, to go in there and take care of those floors. Churchill Elementary School has a clear story around the cafeteria area, which is brick. There's a roof, there's brick, and then there's a roof. When that building was renovated, there were some issues with the masonry, which is allowing water to still enter the building and kind of get down, stain some ceiling tiles and create some water infiltration issues. So this is a way to address that, so we don't have that issue any longer. We'll have a tight cap on the building all the way around. The paving repairs and maintenance allowance for Churchville and Goodville, Jess and I talked, and each year we'll go after 2 projects and repair these parking lots in a more major way. A lot of these lots are kind of past the point of being able to do crack seal coat, and striping. These are really requiring the building overlay process, a more serious approach to get you another 15 years of solid paving on these lots. So that is something that's being proposed, and with that would be some concrete sidewalk repairs, some curb repairs, incidental to the work that we're doing, or sidewalks that are just, challenged and perhaps tripping hazards throughout. And then a building envelope restoration project, again, TFR. This is a campus that you plan to keep around. The buildings are single white masonry walls. They're pretty tired. The roofs are single ply membrane that haven't been touched. So it would really be a good idea to get out and just take care of it. And again, this is not a beautification project. This is basically taking the masonry, doing any masonry repairs, putting an elastomeric painting system, a coating on those walls, putting a new single ply roof system or something maybe a bit better, but I don't think you need to put a $50 square foot roof on those buildings, but something lesser. Some chimney repairs. There's a couple, some windows around the building that are single glazed metal windows that would probably benefit by putting in a new window system around those buildings. And just a look at that little campus there to take care of it.
Doug, can you jump in real quick? And then also putting an emergency generator. This is where we have one of the largest outdoor refrigerating units. So if there's, in the summertime when schools shut down, Chartwells transfers all of their materials that they have to use over the school year into this space. We don't have an emergency generator, so it actually happened this summer. If the power goes down on a Saturday morning, we don't have someone to come back in until Monday morning. So we lose the entire cooler. So it's product that the district owns that then we now have to replace. So that is a big part of this, as well as adding in the emergency generator there.
Thank you. So in total, construction costs with soft costs with contingencies and other factors, looking at a $6 million budget for those projects for next summer. So I think that's tonight what we're kind of seeking feedback from the board on in an effort to try to get these projects started as soon as we can, so that we're first in the lineup for contractors to get out there and be hungry to get some projects, get our bids out there, and if we can beat other districts to the bids, it benefits Council Rock. So that is what we're asking. And then for the summer of 25, a project that we're talking about is the Newtown Elementary School chiller. So that chiller is pretty tired. There's a lot of infrastructure there that's tiring, right? And that's a project that long-term needs to be considered for total renovations. But the chiller is tired. I know that your HVAC guys have expressed some concern for the condition of it. The reason that we're suggesting putting this out soon, getting it documented, getting bids, is so that contractors can have the year that they need to procure the equipment. It's about a 46-week time frame minimally to procure a chiller. We may look at perhaps redundancy, maybe we put 2 or 3 smaller chillers in, so that if a part of the chiller goes down, we still have some cooling capacity. Right now, we have 1 chiller, the chiller goes down, there's no ability to continue to cool the building. So this will give us time to do that study to figure out what's best for the district, and then get that moving. So that would be one other project that we would ask for your consideration for. For the other years, there are projects listed, again, they're all part of that thumb drive that you'll get. You can see these in the book. But we did put the summer of 26 in here. We kind of follow through the same theme of 2 schools for paving, 2 schools for sidewalks each year, and then other projects that are applicable for those years. And then 27 and 28 are also listed in here. At the bottom are the totals of those projects as you scroll through the respective years.
So I moved back to summer of 2027, and at the moment we have the roof in. Yeah, the partial, we have 2 roofs coming up. It's both south and
South
Welsh.
was, I think, the year before.
South is 28.
28.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, south is 28.
So I do want to highlight that those numbers are jumping up. So if you look at 28, it's a little, it's 11.6 million. South at that point will be due for a roof. So that'll be future conversations on whether it's a summer project, whether we're borrowing for it. But I do want to highlight that there are a couple roofs coming up.
Did you say $11 million to do something?
So no,
Okay.
it's, that year we have $11 million allocated, but the south roof we have budgeted. Doug, go to the next
So
slide.
it's not, yeah.
It's about 9.5 million.
It's not, there's a lot of roof areas.
So it's the complete redo of the roof after 22 years, whatever.
It's 25 years.
South had a reconditioning done about 10 years ago, roughly. So we extended the length of that roof by putting the coating over the membrane roof to get more light out of the roof that was there. So that it's been extended about as far as it can before it needs to be removed and replaced with a substantial roof system.
And you're putting 6% inflation on each year?
So that's projected 5% over the next
5%?
5 years, right? So that will adjust it each year depending on what the industry is actually seeing. But that's a safe kind of industry percentage increase each year.
Barring
Yeah.
another COVID.
And, and it's also a roof that, we didn't talk about, but it's a roof that it's large enough and it has enough divisions and areas that you can say we're going to do a phase 1, 2, and 3 as well. You have to phase that roof over a series of 3 years to reduce the cost. So you can say we're going to do a $3 million, $3 million, $3 million kind of project each of those 3 years to phase it over several years. So that's something that when we get down the road, we can discuss. Those are the projects that are projected out. And yes, the 2 roofs, thank you. Yeah.
I do have a question. If we could go back to next year's summer projects where you look at Churchville roof. Some repairs around the cafeteria area. So, Doug, I think you might have been here at the time when, or it was right before your time when we did Churchville.
And what's your question?
I'm waiting
We're looking
for
for
you.
Churchville?
I know, go ahead. Joe?
Yeah, thank you. So the Churchville cafeteria, the roof, when you did that, was the roof replaced when they redid the school the first time?
Yeah, that's when I actually came into the district.
Right.
Churchville was actually wrapping up, and that was my first project here, so I came in and helped close the project out. And the roof was done, but the flashings and the masonry between the lower roof and the high roof of the cafeteria was not part of the project. So it's something that ideally would have been addressed all as one package, but it wasn't. So it's something that we should go back and.
So how old is that roof? If you take, how old is the flashing on the roof then, would you say?
Well, some of the flashing is from the 60s, some of it, was replaced as part of that project about 11 years ago, or 12 years ago.
So the summer project is a patchwork where it's just beyond, and we're leaking into the building?
It's not a heavy flow,
No.
but there's water infiltration and heavy rains, depending on the directions and things, you get some water. Those old 1960s walls were built like they are today, where there's brick veneer, cavity space, flashing that comes out through the, they did put copper flashing through the wall, but the water kind of gets in, it doesn't have the space that it needs to find its way through the cavity of the wall and back out the flashing. So it's a multi-way masonry wall that kind of just absorbs a lot of water and finds its way down. in an area you don't want it to be,
So
so.
that's an area we'll watch along with the rest of the building. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Other questions?
Yeah, that was exactly my comment, that's why I wanted you to come back to this. And Jay largely addressed it. So this is a local project, this isn't a result of something new or that would have been conscious.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. As far as the first one point of how long has the natatorium not had its
It's been that way since it was designed.
So what are we spending on maintenance to accommodate that?
You mean energy costs?
Uh-huh.
I have no idea off the top of my head, but a lot.
How does it compare to that number up there?
You probably make that money out of 2 or 3 years.
Good, okay.
Your return on investment, well,
That would be interesting to
yeah,
see.
your return on investment is gonna be very quick on that. So when we run the boilers, it actually, in order to heat the pool up, it overheats certain areas of the building, and it's, yeah, it's constant fighting back and forth. So this is something that's been due for a while now, and then I'd also say that, like, it's in the summertime, constantly running our boiler, it just doesn't make sense. So the relatively small cost of this is gonna be made up very quickly.
Other questions? Mike?
The pool's not heated, is it?
It is. It heats through the existing boiler system,
It was designed that way.
yes.
Okay.
Does seem like a flaw. All right.
That was 70.
Any other, I've got a question, Doug, regarding the chiller project for Newtown Elementary.
Yes.
When is Newtown L up for renovation?
Well, we haven't had, a discussion with the entire team about when it is up, but,
Yeah.
it's to the point where it's getting ready to be considered, the next
That's
few
right.
years.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but this needs to be done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so this past summer, we had to replace one of the compressors. It's at its end of its useful life, so we're holding it together and making it run for as long as we can. Now, this was the one where we talked about if we did end up purchasing the boiler, the chiller for Bridgeboro Middle, we would relocate it up to Newtown Elementary. So, I mean, we knew that this was coming up, but since I don't think we're gonna be doing the one at Bridgeboro
Right.
Middle, so we put this on for the following year. 'Cause once we start design now, by the time we design and bid it out, we all know it's like 48, 52 weeks out for the chillers. So we need to move that along and place the order so we can get it summer of 2025.
Yeah.
We would obviously reuse, these chillers would be reused if that building were renovated, they would still suit the building, so that would be
Yeah.
removed from the cost of the renovation.
Sure.
Savings.
Now, if we decide to put a 30 classroom addition on,
Well-
obviously that changes
Right.
it, but it besides.
They already have the 10 classrooms across the back, right? It's basically the Richboro model. has
With
10
the plus
classrooms.
10, yeah.
So it'll be sized to suit that square foot.
Okay, any other
Just
questions?
real quick.
Yeah.
John, make me remember, why was the track part of the turf project? Why wasn't the track a part of the track itself? Why wasn't that part of the turf project?
It was a totally different project. So there was discussion about putting the turf within the track,
Right.
but the decision was to move the field as its own individual, independent field, so we.
Most high schools, the track's in with the football field.
Correct, and the discussion, there were a lot of discussions about where it was better placed, and the board felt it was better having its own turf field off to the side, but still allow the track events to take place without interruption from the other activities.
Thanks.
If I remember correctly, I thought it had something to do with like that, this running the sewer and the bathroom all the way out there, and that it would be better to be closer to the building. So I'm absolutely just not remembering that correctly. So you can still do it though.
You can
presented that project.
put synthetic turf in the, on that grass field at some point if you want.
But you can make that a whole area of the stadium it's gonna be very expensive, but didn't we
Yeah, I mean,
present
all the
that?
infrastructure is in place where you just turf for stadium for 2,000 seats and 1,500 seats on the opposite side, and the rough in for the buildings, and, you know, the team rooms and concessions and toilet rooms, it's, you know, ready to.
But how expensive is it to run the sewer out there? Was that called?
Well, at this point, I mean,
Well, we presented it anyway. You presented it, didn't you? We presented up against the building, and then we presented actually the turf field around the track.
there were actually two schematic sketches that were looked at when we did that.
And one of them was taking it around the,
One of
the
them
track was like
was
6.5
the other
million
one
dollars.
was where you ended up. Okay.
All right, thanks. And if there's no more, Doug, go ahead.
No, I think, I'm just trying to get to the, where we, so the next steps are basically, you know, any direction from the board on any adjustments to the capital plan that we presented, and you'll take a look at it. If there's anything that needs to be adjusted, we can certainly do that. Looking for your authorization to proceed with those summer projects that are proposed, or some modified version if you think that needs to take place. And our ability to start doing field investigations before the onset of winter weather, so we can actually get out here, open parking lots, sidewalks, the athletic field, and other areas that we need to see outside. And to get a jump start in other districts, so we get projects out the bid. It's advantageous to beat them to the punch, it always is. And the next step would be for us to document and review those bid results with you for your direction on moving forward with those projects, once we do get numbers for you to evaluate. That is all we have for this presentation.
Thank you, Doug. Jess, what's the timetable then for bringing the summer projects to the board?
We'll give you guys a chance to take a look at the books. The books will be handed out at your board meeting on Thursday.
Good.
Christina will put all the labels on,
Yeah.
and then if you guys have any comments, we'll be looking for November for your approval on their contract.
November, okay. Thank you.
And that would be for the 1 year, right? The
So it'll be,
approval
it'll be for this summer, and then also to start documenting for the chiller. So it'll be a little, Doug will have we'll have two separate contracts. One will be for this summer, and then we'll add in the chiller one.
It's all part of that retained sliding scale fee that we operate out of. So the projects based on the size have a already predetermined professional fee. So depending on the size, it's either a small lump sum plus a percentage, or it's just a straight percentage that we've engaged with you guys a few years ago. So what we've done in the past was we just asked the board to approve the overall budget, or I can get you, based on these projects, what the estimated professional fees are based on these projects. So you can approve it any way you wish. Even the $1 million project is probably $67,000 of professional fee, not $1 million that you're looking to approve now. It's just the professional fees to document and get it out to bid. And then you'll make a decision if you want to spend the money for the actual construction costs of those projects. So it's just professional fees essentially we're looking to approve. Yeah, okay, I can do that for you.
Are we done with these, gentlemen?
Yes. Good night.
Thank
I think we're
you.
done with the document.
Well, you stay.
Why don't I just say, in case you have any
Give us
questions.
10 more minutes, yeah.
All right, great. All right, Jess, please.
All right, so 2023 capital improvement plan closeout. Two of the projects are complete that we would like to close out. The first one is the south paving and sidewalk replacement. There will be a credit change order from Barker & Barker for unused allowance amounts of $19,247.80. The next one will be the North Walt Snyder Stadium repairs for Quinn Construction credit change order for unused allowance amount of $7,000. Okay.
Yeah,
Next is Hillcrest Elementary School closeout for both the general contractor and the electrical contractor. There is a change order, a positive change order for Penn Builders in the amount of $17,110.87. That includes labor and material for the water meter pit repair. There was a leak on an existing seal that needed to be repaired. Drinking fountain wing walls, try to say that 3 times fast. This was a request from,
Building code official?
thank you, from the building code official. That was a request to make sure that go ahead.
Yeah, so it's for if you're trouble seeing you cane, that when you're walking down the hallway, your cane would hit the wing of the water fountain rather than you run straight into the water fountain. So it's a code that gets interpreted very differently for different people. So in this scenario, we were undone finish, and it was best to just say yes, sir, we'll put it in and move forward. And moving forward, all the different things do not just
Okay. Next is shades in the gym office, the main office conference room, the nurse's office, and the library. And then hardware change there was a door for the main office, from the main office into the hallway, that we added an additional card reader and had to modify some of the hardware to make that all work together. And then also there was an exterior metal spacer ring for an existing exterior column. And then the electrical contractor, there is a credit change order in the amount of $33,834.52 for unused allowance money. And then below is overall construction closeout summary. So again, Penn Builders had a total positive change order of $35,000. The electrician, mechanical, and plumbing all had credit change orders. So the total project credit was $76,591.29.
Jess, just so everybody knows, the 35 for Penn Builders. So there was a previously approved change order just for asphalt escalation, just for the price of boilers, the building escalation formula for asphalt, and the previous cost for that, just so we had any question.
Is it done?
Everything is done except for there's a few warranty items still outstanding.
So it's not.
Well, construction-wise, it's done. We're now into warranty.
Okay.
So punch list, all punch list items are complete.
But there's, I think, one item.
We'll just deal that door change order, that's part of it. Just because it was a late in the game ad, you're trying to get the existing hardware to work and function the way you need it to. We went back and forth for the last 12 months with the hardware supplier, access security contractor. I think as of the last 12 weeks, I think we finally have this, what we need, to put it in and make it work.
And we've held back 10%?
No, not 10%, because within a contract, once you hit 50%, you're obligated to drop down to 5%. So we still have a significant amount of money on Penn Builders that we haven't paid out yet. $1.25 million? Okay. So
Which we can do at this point. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't asked me yet for it. It looks like prepared this change order and said, guys, they're going to sign this. They're going to ask me for that, some of that money. What's appropriate for the warranty items, trees and seating, landscaping, and such. Obviously, a lot.
What sort of costs do those remaining items represent?
it's not a lot.
I guess I can say it's a whole more than one. The contract allows you to hold 1.5 times the cost of the item. So $1,000 more, you will $1,500. Enough to get it done, to answer your question.
Plus, Penn Builders is at Richboro, so they want to close this out.
They won't run from the, they're very good, they're a very good contractor.
Well, then it should be easy for them, to Dr. Garland's point, to wrap it up quickly. So
Yes.
we could be done with it.
And
Haggle.
providing this, get it out there.
Yeah, and like one item that just popped up this week, there was a crack in a slide out of the playground. It looked like it was something with the structure that cracked it. So we're working with the slide manufacturer, the playground manufacturer, to get the slide repaired. So it's stuff that just pops up over the course of the warranty that we're taking care of. Next is the Richborough Elementary School rock removal change order. It is a change order for the amount of $82,946.77. I do want to highlight that today, we did get a unit price of $165 per cubic yard. So if you look at this number here, that's how much just for the bulk rock removal it could have cost per the contract. Colin was able to negotiate with them to do it on a T&M basis, which is time and material, and he got it down to $28.77 a cubic yard. So you see that the difference between the two numbers here is a significant amount of money, so he was able to successfully save the district that much money. And then the trench rock, they did hold the $65 a cubic yard. So the trench rock removal came in at $25,121.60. So if you do add up everything, the total savings from Colin's negotiation is $263,774.83. I will say he did a great job. I haven't seen these kind of numbers in my almost 20 years, so I do want to say kudos to him for really knocking the contractor down. Saving the district.
Thank the guys that did the work for the district. I mean, people there and builders, I mean, they deserve all the credit. That's not us contractors saying, we give you a fair price and do this work for the district, so. That it should be acknowledged very well. That's another, which you can see another project. I told the brief that member, and you believe me, so if you guys all know the brief, our president, he was like, "We say it again?" I was like, so, yeah, thanks to those guys in the trucks and, keeping the coffee breaks down.
Is that because the contract considered a lot more rock that could have been there than was? Or is that because the contract is considering a higher rate per cubic yard of rock to be removed? Either way, well, there's a huge difference between those two numbers, and one of them is based upon the way the contract would have been.
Right.
And then the other one is based upon the reality of T&M.
It's
So,
savings, yeah.
Is that because the contract considered a much greater amount of rock
It
than
would
the
be
others?
a smaller amount. Since we have a larger amount and you're sitting there with two hammers going, for a set amount of time, it's going to reduce, it's going to make it more efficient rather than if you did rock in 5 different areas. And that's why the unit price is high.
Right.
So you can't get stuck doing a huge rock removal and only have a small number. It's a small one, you will have a small number.
Yeah.
You always have to stick.
Because there was some controversy on this whole issue, so I'm just hoping that in future construction projects, we consider this when we're developing contracts to evaluate.
So,
Right?
go ahead.
So, he get into it briefly, so the geotechnical report that we had, all the work we had in that area, showed rock much cheaper. It showed about 5 to 6 foot, all the boring he took.
Yeah.
Put a shovel on the ground, it was like 2 foot. So, yeah, just not something we were expecting, could have had a lot of boring say, and they just didn't hit rock in some areas. So, we based our recommendation on rock alternates, and, the way we guide you on what alternates we would recommend based on the geotechnical work. And with the addition, didn't seem like it was necessary to do it.
Who was the geotech?
There was multiple reports, it was like the DPA, was a project, we studied the project early, then we didn't do the project, then we decided to move forward, and then different geotech was doing some work. But to your point, I think the better way to go is just do more probes than few.
Yeah, how many did they do? How many bores did they drive?
5, I think we did 5, I think we did each corner of the addition and then along the hill.
Which is what you would typically see.
And we did, and it was the corner, it was from
I
that corner.
sometimes do 5 on
Yeah.
residents. I sometimes do 5 on the residents.
If you look at the addition and square footage, it's not much more than.
Those are just 5 in here.
Yeah.
I mean, we have borings around.
Yeah,
significant number.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things, you got bad luck on the borings, and, luckily we were able to come out with the cost. I mean, I would be more impressed to say we would have paid $82,000 if we would have put that in, it probably may have been a higher number, but, I can't say that, without saying it, but, I think we got.
It's value we got, but not even.
All right.
Just one thing about Richboro, we had a pretty extensive walkthrough this morning. Colin, you want to give some good news?
Yeah, we got, so, the new addition foundations are in the ground. Steel arrived last week. It's at the point where it's inspected and we put metal decking down. So we are within 1 or 2 days of our scheduled date for steel. So we're, on schedule as far as the new addition. Inside the building, demolition is getting really close to being completed. We're stuck in, we're starting to go up. We had first that's already. So I think we're really seeing the benefit of getting lucky and having 3 of the last 4 contractors that they would press. Like, it's so efficient. They kind of found all the areas where they lost time on the last job, and they're getting it back here. The one challenge we are having is we had a really hard time getting the gas service disconnected by PECO, and we're having a hard time getting the electrical service disconnected by PECO. So we're using all the contacts we can to get the existing electrical service disconnected and out of the way, because it is in the way of new foundations for the mechanical expansion. So, other than that, the project's going really well. So far, it is holding up a little bit of the foundations for the electrical service. However, it's nothing that we can't overcome at this point. So we'll kind of put our hands on deck to pressure PECO to just come out and do an hour's worth of work. And get it done. And I can talk more about PECO.
Well, what I'll just add quickly to that is, this is an example of relationships and the district being fair to the contractors and us working with the contractors, and they've gotten to know us, the team, the district, and they follow us, they want to do these jobs because they know they're going to be treated fairly in these projects, and that's the reason they returned and did other projects. It's a testament to this entire group of people, your quick approval of any kind of cost issue, the fact that Penn Builders didn't ask for more time, even though we sat back in that site and pecked away at rock for a couple of weeks at a time. Easily could have said, hey, the project's going to be delayed 2 weeks, there's nothing more I can do, but instead made up the time and continue to work with us. So it's just a credit to everyone here, and I appreciate your support.
Yes, so that worked.
Good.
Last item, second to last item, sorry, is the Richboro Elementary School district-wide security upgrade change order. This is to include Richboro Elementary into the previous project that we have approved. I can't say much more than that for security reasons, but I think everybody understands.
It's the same system that's district-wide.
Yes.
Other buildings.
Yes. So when you do see it next Thursday, we're going to word it exactly like that. And then the change order will be worded as alternate 3. Thank you. Yeah, alternate 3, and that's exactly how it'll be worded so that we keep it as security.
Good deal.
Okay, and the next item, the last item, is energy data monthly reporting and dashboard. Airmark provides monthly energy data reporting and dashboard services for the district's 16 buildings. It's the 15 schools plus Chancellor. It's able to communicate abnormal usage and cost that warrants further investigation. It also helps with our Energy Star rating and gives us the ability to see what schools are performing poorly than others. In previous years, I think right before Doug left, we had I think South and Holland investigated. So I got those reports, and we're going to start taking a look to see how we can increase the energy efficiency in those buildings, and then see what other buildings we might want to have investigated to see why they're energy hogs. Good knows one of them. And it also, the information that we gather, I also pass along to Renee Devlin to use on the curriculum side. I'm not 100% sure what she does with it, but she's very excited when I send her the monthly reports. I know she uses it with some of the high school classes, so it's kind of a dual purpose type thing. So it's a 3-year agreement with a 3% increase. Last year when the dashboard was that's not a word, was started up. So last year we spent roughly $12,600, because again, that included the startup of the dashboard. So year one will be $9,440, year two, $9,723, and then year three is $10,015.
We usually get a report every month, facilities meeting, that basically said usage and your start usage. It did kind of come and inform the board, and to shame the energy hawks, and we started talking about it. I don't care if you see them at the board, at a meeting, if you want to flip it up real quick, can we start seeing those again?
Absolutely.
It's monthly, I know Airmark does it monthly.
Yeah, they do, yep. It's usually runs about a month behind, so like, I would have gotten maybe August right now. Yep, okay. Absolutely.
Any questions, concerns? No?
So that would be on the agenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fine.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
So now we're gonna go to the finance part of the committee meeting, and Mr. Rupp.
Yeah. So the finance agenda, first thing we're going to talk about is the current school year-to-date results. We're going to talk about give you an update on where we're at and what we're doing with the budget. We're going to talk about a piano purchase and the subsidy from CREF for the piano purchase, and I'm going to ask you to approve a proposal to have some of our properties appraised. So the first thing is the year-to-date financial results for revenue. So what I've done is I've compared, based upon local sources, state sources, and federal sources. I've compared current year budget and the year-to-date, what percent we received of those revenues this year, and then comparing it to last year to say what the budget was, where we are year-to-date, and the percent received, and then to show you the change in those percentages received. So if you look at our local sources, all our taxes, we're about 0.3 less than we were as a percentage of the budget. So this year the budget's 205 million, last year it was 190 million in local sources. We're 79.83, last year we were 8.1, we're about 0.3% less. State sources, and my methodology here is basically anything that's under 2%, I'm going to say that there's no real explanation that's needed. So state and local were under 2%, or within 2% of what we received last year for both of those. So I think we're pretty close, comparatively. Federal sources is the one that we actually received 23% less than we did last year, and under federal sources. And the reason for that is we had a decrease in federal revenue received, which is due at the end of the ESSER grant occurring. So we had an ESSER grant that ended last year, and we received a large payment on that at the beginning of last year. So in the first quarter of this year, and this is based on the first quarter of the fiscal year. So we had that was paid in the first quarter. We don't have that grant this year, so that's why up to this point it's less. Most of the other grants we get more money as the year goes on. Any questions on
Yes,
this?
year to date is just this last annual one.
Yes, this is through September.
Yeah, from June.
From July to September.
Yeah.
And so this is a little bit harder to read, but this is the financial results for expenditures. So this is broken up by object code. And object codes, just for anyone that doesn't know, is broken up into these different areas. 100s are salaries, 200s are employee benefits, 300 are purchase professional and technical services, 400 are purchase property services, 500 are other purchase services, 600 are supplies, 700 are properties, and that includes equipment. So it's anything that we pay out of the general fund for property, equipment, there's a lot of, technology stuff, other objects, and then other uses of funds. And you can see, again, I did the same methodology where we compared last year's budget, this year's budget is the amount that we paid, and then the percentage of that budget that we paid. And then we did last year, in the last year's budget, the amount that we paid to this point last year, and then that percentage to see, what the percentage difference is. And again, I left out anything under that's pretty close on. So the first item is purchase professional and technical services. We're about 3.33% less that we paid this year than we paid last year. And that's since it's as a function of budget, we increased our budget. So we spend less as a matter of the budget. And that's, that's educational services. And so we increased it. I think part of that is due to some training and that teachers gave. So the budget was increased, and that's why we've spent a smaller portion of that. Purchase property services. I'm sorry. Professional payment services, the budget increase. Okay. Purchase property services, that increased the amount that we paid, because that's where our custodial payments lie. So we paid more, or we had a budgeted increase, and an increase in the amount that we paid for custodial services. So we did pay more, and we did have some other expenses and repair and maintenance expense that we did not have last year up to this point. The next section is other purchase services, and that decreased by 19.16%. And that was largely due to, so we pay a certain amount of capital projects to the MEIT, and we actually borrow that money as part of our, it's like a larger capital project amount than we usually pay. So we made that, got that money through one of our bond issues, and when that was paid early last year, whoever paid it out of the general fund, and it's supposed to come out of the capital projects fund where the bond is. So up to this point last year, there was an extra payment out of these objects that wasn't, and we did find it before year end. Cheryl found it, and we fixed it, and everything was right as it's supposed to be by the end of the year. So our records for 2023 are right, but to this point it was paid correctly. Supplies is within 2%. Property. There was our purchase of the accounting area, and property increase was due to the purchase of Chromebooks. So we had that large Chromebook purchase that was made earlier this year that you approved. That caused that to go up to the supply equipment in there. And then on the last slide for the year-to-date results, other objects that decreased because we increased the budget this year for a couple of things, but the biggest item in there is the property tax rebates. We increased that budget by $5,000, which is it's budgeted under refund the prior year revenue. So we increased that to $255,000, and that's why that budget area is up. We paid out this, so we paid out about 31 rebates so far, about $10,200 that we paid out in rebates. We just had another session yesterday where Andrew and I were out at the Star Center, and so there was a representative, myself, and people from Representative Hogan and Representative, Thompson. No.
Hogan? Oh my gosh,
Perry.
yes,
Warren.
very warm.
And so, anyway, it was a nice little thing. We did help some people, and they were help other people in there, help also with their station. The last one is other uses of funds increases due to the timing of the transfer to debt service. So every year we transfer 18,766,401. That's supposed to be made in the first quarter. Last year it wasn't made until later on in the year. So we made that transfer in the first quarter when it wasn't made in the second quarter until after the first quarter last year. So that's why that's increased.
Any questions? I have a question. Could you go back to the slide where you showed the year-to-date revenue? Okay, so we have received $173 million, right?
Yes.
Sitting in the bank? Or do we
No.
get the report of how this money is
No,
used?
so right now, we looked at our expenses for October. We did a transfer of about $80 million from TD Bank to Wilmington Trust. And they're being used to purchase short-term bonds at 5.5% to 6%. So we're maximizing our interest, return on those investments right now.
So that's 80 million that we do that?
I'm sorry?
You said $80 million was transferred?
$80 million we have now sitting in those government bonds to maximizing return.
And what about the rest?
The rest the rest is in, majority is in TD Bank at about 3.5% interest, but that's being held to pay the rest of the September bills and the October bills as they come in. And so it was done at the end of September, so anything that was one month will mature by the end of this month. We'll look at it then and decide what we need to come back in PD for November bills, and the other stuff will reinvest in Wilmington Trust. Yeah.
And do you go through this process monthly?
With
Kevin?
With Kevin on Cornerstone, making sure that, work with Cheryl to make sure we know how much money we need for that coming month and make sure we get that over here with about $20 million cushion in case something happens. And then we go from there. So, we look at what we have coming in, and what we receive, and then what we need to come back in so we can pay our bills.
When are we getting your report from them?
Next month, we have them scheduled for next month.
I have a question. Are we really getting nothing from the state this year? No increase? How much did we get from the state this year?
We're supposed to get about 7 from the state. We have the basic education, 16 million last year, we get about 17 million. I think our special education is 100,000 more, not very much.
Because those numbers look, the budget numbers look.
Yeah, that's, when I budget for basic education, I budget what we received last year, because, we're in September, we find out what they actually give us in August, and that's why we budget conservatively, so that we keep from having surprise getting on. And with what's going on, I'm sure you're all aware that the court ruling that the state educational funding system is unconstitutional, and they're holding meetings throughout the state to talk about how to resolve those issues. And obviously, we haven't gotten nothing been filed very long from that, but I don't know what's going to happen. Any other questions?
No.
Anything else on the financial results?
Well, just
A quick comment, it's not, there's anything wrong with it, it's just an observation, that about $200 million of our $268 million budget goes toward personal salaries, employee benefits, and technical and professional services. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that's about 75% of our budget. It's just interesting, and all of them have gone up, as they should, from year to year.
I mean, it's, we've increased staff and we have an increase in the contract. And they're reasonable increases.
Right.
I don't think we're.
When you increase that, that's what happens when you increase that, absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, from a business perspective, that what you see in the service-oriented company,
Yes.
it's not, we're not manufacturing
Right.
organization,
Right.
it's a service, yeah.
Well, yeah, we're expensive and we're supposed to budget based on our expenses and then revenues and that. That's exactly what we've done, and I think we're on the right track. So 24-25 budget update, we had the superintendent's meeting last month. I gave instruction on entering the budget. As I said before, we're planning on, we're going to practice a bit for a lot of areas to make a spreadsheet, give us a budget, and then we enter it in as I don't want that anymore. I want them to take responsibility for the budget and enter it in with other things that we can be doing other than that. And we are requiring everyone to enter budget in detail. I want to see what you, not just how much you want to spend. I want to see what you want to spend it on. I want us to know. I want Al, Nicole, Anthony, Andy to all, Dr. Sanko to all know what the budget is going to be, and I want you and the public to know that as well. So the more information we get, the more knowledgeable decisions can be made here, and the more open, transparent the public we can be. So, again, as each department is responsible for their own budget entry, we have budget worksheets that to have everything kind of symmetrical. I'm mailing out tomorrow budget worksheets to every department head in the district, and a list of their accounts showing the last couple of years of the results, budget and actual, and for them to enter their budget in there so that they can enter into the system. And just as a point of information for you, the deadline to pass the Act 1 resolution is January 4th, 2024, which means the Act 1 resolution will need to be passed in December 4th. So we need to have passed by December. So just so you all know that, I want to just make that clear.
Is that before or after the reorganization? I guess it's after the reorganization.
It's very early this year.
Yeah. What is, we know that number, what is that exactly?
5.3%.
5.3% is the max. So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So this budget worksheet, I think this is fantastic, that we're asking our building managers to manage the building. So, and I think what you're going to see is now the philosophies of principals change from building to building. So what, and maybe Andy, this is for you, what are we, outside of looking to understand how they spend money, what happens when you see a cross variance of theories from the principal's perspective? Where, I mean, just throwing things out there. Some principals pay for school shows, or other principals don't. Some principals do this. I mean, so what, I understand counting for the money, but what you're also going to see is a lot of what makes your schools interesting and fun. But they're good.
They're going to all be somewhat different, and that's why Tony is asking for some details on the description of what we are ordering. So whether you want to talk about shows or touchscreen TVs on the walls, or batting cages or soccer nets, we'll be able to see what that is, so we're seeing exactly what we're bringing into each building. We understand that there needs to be some differences among schools, but we want to make sure that if we have something at one school and we need it at another, that all of our kids have access to that. So, you know, that is one of the aims here with training and talking with the administrators as well as the assistants and the folks putting that budget entry in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year, and there's a lot of thoughts out there on how where money should be spent in buildings. So, we
And there's philosophies out there that are different too. So, you know, we're trying to make sure everybody has what they need, particularly the kids, but we want to see, you know, from our perspective, at the district level, where those expenditures are.
And two things about that, there is a per pupil allocation for each building, so I could give them a number that their budget goes up to. So it's up to them then to figure out where they want to spend it. We're also arranging meetings with every school, for me to go out and actually sit down with the principal and whoever else enters in their budget to go over the whole process with them to make sure that, you know, to answer their questions, because I'm changing things and make sure that everything is, you know, everybody who's doing this understands exactly what's going on. So I think we're trying to, you know, make it a smoother process for the board, for the administration, and again, to be more transparent with the public. Any other questions about the budget? So the next item on the agenda is we have an opportunity to purchase 2 pianos, two Steinway 9-foot novelty pianos at North and South. Each piano lightly used piano is $100,000. And the same piano new is $196,000. I think these pianos were used at the Kimmel Center, and we actually have them here on a loan basis for, I don't know what that was. And I have Keith from the music department who's been spearheading this to answer any questions that you might have. Keith or that, I'm sorry. And so we have 9-foot pianos at each school, and both of them are at or near the end of their life. I kicked it around a few ways to purchase these pianos, and what we'd like to do is the district will outright purchase both pianos at $100,000 each is what we're proposing. And then Kraft has agreed to reimburse us for half the cost of both pianos, so they would like it to be that they pay for half of each piano. And, you know, that we look at it that way. And what we would do is they would make payments over 7 years, from the 23-24 school year this year to the 29-30 school year. $15,000 per year for 6 years and $10,000 in year 7. As they're promising us, they would, if they're able to, they would try to pay it off earlier. So that's the piano proposal that we're asking.
Any questions? Maybe Keith can give us a name.
So I just wanted to thank you for having me here tonight. This has been.
Thanks for staying.
I'm glad to do so. It's been an 8-year process. We've been very blessed by our school board for the support you've given. We've completed our elementary and middle school piano replacement. Pianos we're looking at either are broken beyond repair. I believe the other one is about 99 years old. So it's time to replace these. They cannot be repaired, not serviceable. And we're just very thankful and fortunate to have the support from Kraft.
I have a question. Did you say they came from the Kimmel Center?
So they've been
used,
yes, and played by piano expert professionals, and they reside at the Kimmel Center when not used.
And how about Kraft? What's the agreement with Kraft? Is it just kind of a handshake?
We're going to have an official agreement with Kraft that's on.
Well, it's funny, but one of the first things we ever talked about with pianos when I went on, there was some history behind it, but the program at the schools are really great, and I know this is something you guys have been waiting a very long time for. And
however it is with craft, for them to come up and be able to support is pretty cool way to navigate this and make it happen with the commitment. But I'll let everybody else talk.
Well,
Just a quick question. Any reason why they wouldn't make, Crest wouldn't take over the whole payment?
The $200,000 payment. We, as Keith said, we've been talking about this. We approached Kraft and shared the numbers with them. We asked if that would be something they would be willing to participate in, $200,000 purchase, because it would be a district-wide initiative. It would potentially be serving our entire community. And just when we spoke with Beth Ann, their executive director, she came back and shared that they would be committed to half of that. And as Tony said, their approach would be that they would like to pay half of the cost, but for half of the piano at each high school. So I just think the $200,000 was a big number when we went to CREF with it.
Yeah, the other reason I ask is, there's been some discussion as to the CREP donations and the grants that they do every year, whether or not that becomes a part of curriculum or whatever. And I think last year the number was $30,000 that CREF donated to various projects. I don't know what kind of administrative fees CREF pays. I mean, we've had a lot of people come in, and we just had the PTOs come in, and they all do their work for free. We had the $40,000 trailer that was donated for free. As opposed to having squabbling over what donations CREF's making and who is benefiting, whether it's district-wide or evenly fair. If you're buying 2 pianos and they take the whole payment over, then it is entirely fair for both. And over the course of time, it saves the district $200,000. That would be a great donation, I think, for CREF to make.
Well, I'll speak as the board's liaison to CREF and a board member of CREF. This is a new expenditure for CREF, and it's a substantial expenditure. So I think the board weighed what it could afford to do with these piano purchases, and it seemed like this is the affordable route to share 50% of the cost with the district. In terms of, any difference of opinion about the CREF grant program, I think it's been a very successful program, and it's a district-wide program that invites teachers from every school to apply. And there's been some discussion about how to encourage teachers in every school to apply for CREF grants. And we're looking at ways to make the process simpler and more attractive to teachers so that we get a broader representation. But I think the program has served the district well, and it's involved teachers from most of our elementary schools, and it's encouraged innovation. And I think the piano purchase is a big new step forward to do something for the high schools, and I'm glad that the board agreed to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Council Rock Education Foundation the intent is to provide benefit and raise funds to the entire district. I agree, I think that's great. And pianos has been a topic that we've been kicking around for a while. So this seems like a natural fit for CREF to do. I also struggle because I recall the grants from last year benefited, at least all the ones that were approved or demonstrated were all northern schools. So this is great that this is for a piano in the south and a piano in the north. I don't know why it's 7 years though. I mean, I would think they're more successful. They have to do it better, quicker.
$15,000 is a big share of the CREF budget, and it's a new expenditure. So I think that's a substantial amount of money. and it's a new investment. And you're right, it is, in the sense that we're getting a piano for each of the 2 high schools, it is a district-wide purchase, so I think that's a real positive. The grants program is open to every school, and as I've said, we're looking at ways to encourage teachers from every school to apply, and hopefully we'll see a broader representation.
What's CREF going to do with the remaining funds?
The CREF grant program is the greatest expenditure every year for the foundation.
Mike?
Tony, Keith, this and lots of your other really expensive instruments, why aren't they budgeted? There's an amortization for these. Why isn't it part of the music department's budget that this happens, you know, so that come the end of life or something, we've already built the costs in, you know? Can I ask? I mean, maybe pianos, because they last 50 years, are not a good.
I mean, well, no, they do budget for other instruments. I've been around long enough, don't know why these haven't been budgeted before. But
I mean, yeah, this is, you know, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
I mean, I will say that, actually, Keith, you can say this. When would the next time we would need the budget for pianos after this?
We won't be here to talk about it.
I can tell you, we tried to do that in the past, and each time we tried, it was too heavy lift for one academic year. So I think what you're seeing is the best thinking over a number of attempts.
Well, there were a lot of attempts to slip this in the budget recently, so, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
No, if I could, I think we should revisit, seriously, because one of the things I've asked for with this administration is put together, you see a 5-year building plan. They're looking at curriculum on the same kind of idea of rotation. So I would argue any of this, uniforms, instruments, things, we should build books that we know you're going to need trumpets in 2 years. And Tony, you're a dollar guy, figure it out, how to do this on a rotation. It sounds like it's a heavy lift, but I think it's the right thing to do. And you know what, sometimes we're going to get dirty and do the heavy lifts. If we're not going to do music right, we're not going to do athletics right, we stop doing it. I don't want to stop doing it, so let's do it right. Let's find efficiencies to get it done in a way that benefits our kids, because that's what we're here for, to make things better. If we can plan accordingly, think of what we just talked about. The buildings are going to be responsible. You come up with a book, curriculum's got a book, Apple's got a book. Makes his life easy as the budget guy. Makes the board's decisions easier because we know what's in front of us. I just say give it some thought. And I don't know what you do on a daily basis in terms of what that means or what that looks like, but think about it. You have a checklist, you know what you need. What does it look like? Let's figure it out. I think it's worth a shot at doing it. My comment about this, I don't think we go in to do a 7-year deal with CREF, I'm sorry. They're a 501, I can't guarantee you they'll pay in year 5. To me, Ed, and please don't take this personally, because I would say this, $15,000, I raised $40,000 in PTO last year. $15,000 should not be a heavy lift for a district-wide fundraising arm of the district. If they can't pay it off in a couple of years, you're getting your pianos. You got my vote for the pianos without a doubt. I just struggle with stretching anything over 7 years. Here's what I'm thinking. Dueling pianos fundraisers. You got your golf outing. We could do something else. We can put a thermometer on the wall in the boardroom, and every month you can go and say, what's CREF raised up to cast aside the ability to pay this off very quickly to be a short-sighted. And I will say, and I truly believe, those grants that you're getting, the reason you might be getting like not too many choices is because PTO just spent $500,000 in your schools. There's not much left. And what they want, to me, some of this stuff should be rolled out district-wide. I just think, as someone who raised money for a long period of time, this can be done in a very short period of time. Refund to support the piano program at Council Rock, and that should be the one and only fundraiser CREF does. That's my opinion.
It's a good idea, I'll pass it along.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You got your piano. I will vote for that without a doubt.
And I think you just challenged them to the we'll pay off earlier if possible, so good job.
Yeah.
Good public speech. I had a question regarding, when we're talking about budgeting instruments, big ones, like $100,000 units, and it's smaller music budgets, right? And you're saying, well, how can I do that in 1 year? So, but could you actually earmark certain, see, I don't think the state allows you to earmark money from a budget for like future years, like say, so it's basically the accounting and the earmarking will be done at the district level, like we did with the turf fields and all the rest of that. We could do something like that.
If I were going in to do it, I would first take an inventory of everything that I have, and then see what's a year, what, you know, how many what the useful life remaining is on that, and then plan accordingly for, you know, plan purposes. I can't budget that way, but they would have an idea.
But they could also say, hey, yeah, we're pledging, we'll cut, we'll not cut, that was a bad word, oh my God. But, you might say, I won't spend so much this year, maybe that money can go towards that earmark, if there's a counter way to do that.
So if I understand this correctly, Tony, the district is going to buy the pianos right now. So the question is, so we're getting the pianos, that's what the board is asked to approve. The question is whether we're going to receive money from CREF about that down the road. Because the biggest approval that we're asked to tonight is to buy the 2 pianos, and we pay for them. So just want to.
Yeah, because remember, a couple months ago, the opportunity was when they were going to finance it, and they wanted to run it.
And we didn't want to do that.
No.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to do that.
We have the ability to pay for them, they deserve it, our kids deserve it, let's get them in the hands of our kids.
And part of the logic was, yeah, financing is a poor use of our money.
Yeah.
There's no-
We have the money, especially.
Exactly.
Right. Again, it's not a shot at correct. I think they're doing great work. Anybody who's raising money for our kids do great work. To me, I would present to them, let's refocus and put all the eggs in the basket. Let's get the pianos in, and that's the priority moving forward. That's just my opinion.
Could I just say that, did you just say,
I'll pass it
because
along.
it's based off of this donation from CREF, but you're saying that that's not guaranteed?
No, I didn't say that.
No, what I'm saying is that the way it's going to work, if I understand it correctly, Tony, we are approving to buy the 2 pianos for $200,000 right now.
With
I mean, the
donations,
next
I'm sorry.
board meeting.
No.
And
Bring up the greatest value.
that's what this is our approval. So the thing that CREF will pay down the road is a separate kind of agreement.
Well, the ask is going to be to purchase the piano and approve the repayment agreement, correct? I can put them on next week.
That's what I was going to say, how it's
Two
going
separate
to,
items.
yeah. Right. No, how it's going to appear on the agenda, right?
And, but I don't, if that's what the board wants,
Tony, is there an enforcement mechanism for this document?
Good faith.
Well, it depends on how we set it up. We can set it up as a gentleman's agreement with a, that we sign and they sign. Or we could set it up as a promissory note and that would just mean that as long as they're able to, they would be obligated to pay us. If, CREF went out, not, God forbid, if we went out of business, then obviously we couldn't enforce that. So those are our options for that. I don't know if we would want to go the route of a promissory note, because if they're unable to pay, I would, if we have an agreement, I don't think, you would worry that a future board would come along and say, we don't want to pay this anymore.
Right.
But we can, and that's more something I'm working with Rob on.
But we approached, Dr. Senko, you approached CREF to try to get on this.
Yeah, I approached Beth Ann Dobosh and said, we've had this desire in Council Rock for a long time. Keith said it was 8 years, I don't remember that length of time. And we spoke with Beth about doing something district-wide, something that has an opportunity to kind of trickle down and impact all of our kids. And we knew that these pianos have been out there for quite a while. We asked Keith to dust off the old notes and get new notes, and we had several meetings on it. And after the very first meeting, Beth Ann said she would go back to the CREF board, and she did. She came back because the initial ask, would CREF be willing, able, and interested to do the full purchase of the $200,000? Came back and said, we want to be partners with the district, we want to support the district. 200,000 is too steep of a climb. We can do 100,000 or half of it. And she was very emphatic about half of the purchase at one school and half at the other because CREF serves the whole district. We then came up with ways to make that happen, and as you all saw before, there was a finance way to do it, and I think that number was somewhere $56,000 that we would be asking CREF to do if they were to finance it. And rather than do that and take those monies that they raised, put it into the purchase directly. One of the things that when we met with Beth Ann, Keith, and Tony, there were many of us at during those conversations. One of the things that she felt confident in is that she believes she could get some donors, to Mr. Solomon's point, to get this paid off earlier rather than later, but felt to be in an area of a safe place financially. That's why you see the 7 years up there.
I believe in good faith. I think they're housed in this building. Their office is in this building, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that their pledges will be honored. And whether or not we pay for it or not, I think those pianos will come in handy. And them fulfilling their pledge, we basically get Steinways for the cost of a Boston.
One more question, probably for Keith, I don't know if it's for you, Tony. A couple of years ago, we were approached by a different business administrator. We had to act now because these pianos were a hot item and this was a great deal. Are these the same pianos?
These instruments are generally used, they're on new piano, be $200,000.
I mean, are they actually the same pianos that were brought to us?
I believe they're different instruments.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
And Keith, we borrowed these for the BCEMA performance, correct?
Yes.
So they've actually been in our schools, these actual instruments that Keith is talking about tonight.
That's a good deal? Okay.
So how should I appear on the agenda next week?
So the first is, we can separate it into two items. First is the purchase of the piano. Can that be consent, or should that be a plan?
I think that's consent.
We're all good, right?
Consent.
I'm good. Okay. Then the second item would be the contract with CREF. Obviously, we can work that out. Maybe we put it on the agenda or possibly leave it off the agenda and come back to it next month. I don't know, look at Mr. Page or CREF to actually talk more amongst themselves. And I'm still working on what we want to do with Ron. So I can add that to the agenda this month, or
Well, we'll be ready, solicitor review, or it would be pending solicitor review.
be pending solicitor.
So we're not going to tie it together because, I mean, it's not tied together. Is that what we do?
No.
I can't tie it together anyway.
No.
I'm sure the CREF board will be happy to do what the district prefers.
But from a pure budget perspective, we have to pay the $200,000.
Yeah, $200,000, no matter
So,
what. Yeah.
no matter what, so it's purely like logistically, we approve to pay that.
Yes.
And then the other would be a credit or money that will be coming in at different times. And that's a separate
Well,
agreement.
I'm saying, would we want to move that to November? And
No, I mean, not for me.
Just pending the solicitor approval,
Yeah.
right?
Very soon.
What if it gets voted down?
So we're
That's
still
a
buying
PR. We're still buying pianos.
It's
so
a
it doesn't
PR.
matter.
Run the pianos.
It's a PR issue.
Keep you got your piano.
Thank you so much.
Especially those-
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank the kids and make them play well. Always love them.
Thanks, Keith. Good night. Thanks, Keith.
Turn pianos, but you can't turn.
Make sure you're on time tomorrow, you stay out late.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
One more item?
Yeah.
You have one more thing?
So, am I adding it to the agenda as,
Yes.
and, okay.
Consent.
All right, now we'll not consent. Last item is a proposal to provide appraisal services. We're looking to you approve a proposal to appraise Chancellor Center 24th property in Richboro Middle School. This is just information gathering for future planning. We're not, those are probably 3 properties that were, have been talked about for considering for, what we want to do with these properties. So as part of the administration wanting to get together and give you a good idea of what we think we'd like to see with these properties, and then we can, carry that forward, we'd like to have this information. The cost for all 3 of the appraisals is $11,000. That is, it's through Indian Valley Appraisers, who did it in 2017, 6 years ago, and that's the exact same price that we pay for these same 3 buildings 6 years ago. So they like our business, and we do give them business through the tax assessment of the building. And so they were very interested in doing this. I think I called them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had a contract by 10 o'clock in the
If I may,
Yeah, please.
no,
Joe.
Really?
yes.
Just, me and Ed have a good go. So my question would be, the comment I made to Dr. Sanko, like, yeah, I mean, how long is an appraisal good for, like, for a legal standpoint, maybe 6 months or something, and then it's outdated. If we do move forward with something down the road, another appraisal will be ordered. So if my point is this, is that if we're not going to be doing anything where this appraisal would be worth anything legally or validating it, is there just a way maybe to get 3 different, people that would donate their time to do, basically give their best professional assessment, because people give appraisals every day, you get what you pay for, but at the same time, if it's not really like we have to spend $11,000 because this will be a good legal appraisal, whether it's transfer or whatever, or a loan or whatever we're doing, then maybe we can save $11,000 just by getting some good estimates from qualified people out there that basically, well, maybe even be like, just like this firm did this appraisal on it, and it's going to be, but that's just I don't expect you guys to go for it, but I just wanted to say, do we need this legal documents for $11,000, or can people just give us estimates like we get all the time? If that makes any sense.
If I can answer.
Please.
Yeah. So if you look at the appraisals that we received last time, it's a lot more than this. I'm just saying, because of the nature of the buildings and the property, there's a lot more things that go into it than just saying, what comparable properties are, like a normal appraisal would. They have to look at it from the perspective of different uses for this building or property, for these buildings or properties, and what the best, and they give you kind of what the best use might be, if you wanted to sell it. And I would say that if that it suits our purpose, and that we know what is recommended to do with these buildings as far as from an appraisal standpoint, if we want, what they're actually worth for the district, and under what circumstances they're worth.
Right, but they've done that once already.
Yeah, they did that once already. I would say, I don't know that we would be paying for any further appraisals after this. If we were to say, pick one of these properties and decide that the best thing for the students of this district is to sell that property, I believe it will be up to the buyer to get their own appraisal, not us.
I just said my piece, I think there's more.
So I
That's
think it's a very
good.
point.
I think you're good.
If we could get somebody, but my only answer to that is, I think it's a lot of work, compared to some of the other types of appraisals that you might have. Somebody wants to get their house appraised, everybody knows that their house is going to be sold to somebody else to live in.
And it's validated and they're backing it up, so, I just had that comment I wanted to make.
And I think is it next month that the administration will eventually propose a plan for what to do, right? And so the appraiser will help in that decision making, correct?
We did not say next month, but in terms of kind of looking in order with all the things that are outstanding as it relates to all of our properties, we felt that this was a good place to start to gather the information that Tony's talked about. We know these 3 properties have been appraised before. We have to believe that the property has appreciated. Of course, since the last time this was done, the Richboro Middle School property has changed because we have the addition of the Star Center. So, in order for us, I think for us to be able to bring something to the board and the community, our starting point, outside of some of the pain points that we know we have already existing, we're feeling that this would give us good information.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the sequences, many of you know. A buyer, as Mr. Rapp pointed out, is going to have their own appraiser if they're thinking about buying something. And if we intend to use these for collateral, we're probably going to want a recent appraisal. So I'm curious to know what the appraisal was, when the last time it was done, and how we potentially may use this. To Joe's point, I think that, which is decent. What we may decide, this board or a future board may decide to do something with that property, whether it's selling it or using it as collateral for a loan, or who knows, whatever. And by that time, this appraisal is probably going to be stale. I'm a supporter of Indian Valley, but I'm curious to find out, both what are we going to do with it, and does this appraisal make it easier for them to update it? And if that's true, why can't they update the previous one that was done? It's a lot there.
I can be in contact them and ask that question. I don't know what the answer would be, but again, it's probably I would imagine it's the groundwork that would go into updating, that a lot of the work they would have to do, the longer portion of the work would still have to be done, even if they were updating the old appraisal, because those properties that have been sold that are in that appraisal, and the use of the building. But we've talked about like what we want to, what the future plans are, and whether or not there's any value in these buildings. We should know that to help us decide, what we would like to recommend, or what for you to decide what we would like to do if whatever board decides that.
Another thing that would help us, and Jess, perhaps you can help with this, is to come up with a district map that shows the whole Council Rock School District in plan elevation, or map, as some people would call it, right? And then have keyed in for all the different properties that we own to indicate, and maybe a chart on or a schedule on the side to indicate what the name of it is, how much property is there, when the last time it was appraised, what the appraised value is, so that we can sort of, from a high level, look across the whole district to understand, this school is completely built out, there's no opportunity, or this school might have some more room for addition, this is undeveloped property, this is unutilized property. Just from a real high level, look at sort of everything. I think that might help tie in with some of these appraisals to figure out, I mean, why are we only looking at these three? Maybe there's more that we need to look at. Maybe we shouldn't look at any of them for a while. I don't know, but maybe if we could start there, that might help us. It would help me at least.
It'll help additional boards too. Right?
Yeah.
Additional people can.
I do believe, just as a point of information, that the majority of the properties were appraised, overall appraised in 2017. So, we can put together a list of what they were appraised at. Keep in mind, some of them would be appraised, like this was appraised as in, how much we would get if someone wanted to buy it from an apartment building or to, different uses of the property. I haven't really looked at the other appraisals, but I can give you, costs on that. So the issue at hand, do we want to not do this for another month, or do you want to have it on the agenda to approve it?
I'm good with doing it. I mean, Mike, you and I talked about this, and I see Mike's point. But you gotta dive in the pool at some point. If the administration feels this starts that process, it's $11,000. We're not talking about a lot. At least it gives you some level of foundation for that long talk that this board will not be voting on or moving forward with. But it helps set the table. And we have a lot of decisions to make here. And you and I talked about this as well. This is not one building by one building decision. This is the overall
The whole district
decision with a whole lot of questions and ideas and flows. So if this is what the administration, in my opinion, if the administration wants to set the table, to start to set the table, it's $11,000 on the table.
Yeah, but if we're setting the table, I don't want to skip a spoon or a fork. So I think the whole map would be nice to see, to make sure that we're setting the table appropriately.
We'll put together a list of all the buildings, last time they were appraised and what they were appraised at. And, we'll have that information, you'll have that information to, help.
What is the turnaround, I'm sorry, what is the turnaround time if we were to authorize this next week at the board meeting to get the products?
30 to 60 days.
Okay, so I think the board's question is, can you wait another month to sign off on something?
I see your much.
I mean, I can do both. We can get it approved and go through with this, and then, at the same time, we can get new appraisals on these three properties, and the most recent appraisal announced on the other.
You have a question?
Yeah, I mean, Ed, you've been waiting, go ahead.
I was just going to say two things. One is I don't see any need to delay this. I mean, as Ed put it, the administration has requested this information, this appraisal, so I'm supportive. I coincidentally, a month ago, was talking, before I knew this was coming before us, talking to an attorney who specializes in municipal here in Bucks County, and said, who's the best appraiser? And he said Indian Valley. So, we've worked with them successfully in the past, and that's one recommendation, but I support moving forward with it. And as Ed pointed out, we've discussed this at length. You have to look at this, and Mike's suggestion is a good one, to look at the other buildings as well, but we really need this information.
If we have relatively, 2017 is worth the argument.
Yeah.
Not much, I mean, it's only gone up. That just backfills that and take it, with a disclaimer. It was done in 2017.
Yeah.
I think you're pretty close to building that map that you wanted, but that is correct.
Well, it's a map on a chart, just understand.
Well, look, there's a lot of things to play with, right? We got to talk about building sizes, about programs.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be a big jump for whatever board's sitting for those conversations. So, waiting a month is a month in some people's eyes. That's a month worth of education and possible changes in a good.
I'm not suggesting we delay it, words never came out of my mouth, or wait an additional month. It didn't happen. I'm just making suggestions to make sure that we get everything that we need to make the best decision for our district.
I'm good moving forward with it.
Thank you, ma'am.
If I've got a 77 Ford Pinto, I want to know what it's worth before I drop $5,000 into it. That's how I look at these.
Yeah.
I may have two 78 Ford trucks that I already fully restored while I'm committed. That's our buildings out there that we renovated. We saw earlier tonight some really big numbers to fix some of these buildings.
Yeah.
And if my $500 Ford Pinto is only worth $500 after putting $5,000 into it, what are we doing?
That's right.
That's why I want these numbers. It's just because, what are we doing? So,
Well, that is important. Like, I mean, I'm not indicating that we don't need it. I just want to be as efficient as we can with the gathering.
Right.
So consent agenda?
I consent.
I'd like the additional stuff. I've got, yeah, I mean.
You're hungry, you want to set the table, you want the food on the
I
table.
want to set the table. Right. I don't want to have.
Do not.
I'm not going to leave this lunch.
Give it a steak, I got a spoon, right, fork, give me a steak.
Are we done? Tony? Are we done?
Sorry. Just real quick, upcoming agenda items, next month, I did not get the projections done for this month like I promised, so we'll have those next month. And next month also, I did mention the Kevin's coming, I don't have that on here for Cornerstone. And Capital Project Financing, PFM will be here to talk about the next stage of our capital project financing.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
This is the best time